Hey everybody, we're going to work on rounding numbers, multi-digit numbers. Up until the millions is our standard, but we're just going to start out with tens, hundreds, and thousands today. So my first example is 73. If you were to round 73 to the nearest tens place, you've got to know your place value chart, which we've already been going over, and then you need to look at your values you have. So the 3 is in the ones place, and the 7 is in the tens place. So what I like to do is always underline the place value that I'm rounding to, and in this case I'm rounding to the tens, so I'm underlining the 7 that's in the tens place. So the rule says you look next door. If it's 4 or less, you leave it alone. If it's 5 or more, then you have to go up a value. That's the rhyme that you've probably all been taught, but we're going to look at how to do it on a number line today. So when you're looking at the number 73, you've got to think, what are its values? Like, what is it between? And since we're rounding to the nearest tens place, it makes sense to make our lowest value on our number line be 70, and then our highest value on our number line would be the next 10 up, which is 80. And you can label these if you want to. You don't necessarily have to, but I will since this is our first problem. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my number on my number line. So my number is 73. I'm going to put a dot right here. And when you're using number lines, you always have to think about what the midpoint of your number on your number line is. So since my number line goes from 70 to 80, my midpoint is my halfway point. And halfway between 70 and 80 is 75. So since 73 is on this bottom half, then that means 73 would round down to 70. So 73 rounded to the nearest tens place is 70. So I'm going to do one more example. Let's turn it this way, because you're also going to see number lines that go up and down. So I will round, let's do 193 to the nearest hundreds place. So you have to think about what your options are. If my number is 193 and I'm rounding to the nearest hundreds place, this is the ones, the tens, and the hundreds. So my lowest possible value would be 100, and then the next value up would have to be 200. Okay? Now I can fill all these out if I want to. We don't have to, but I will. So 110, we're counting by tens now since we're going to the nearest hundred. 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, and 200. So then you've got to find what your midpoint is. So halfway, or my midpoint between 100 and 200, is this 150. So now I have to figure out where my number is. Well, my number is 193. So here's 190 and 200. So that means 193 is about right there. So you can tell my number is on the top half of my number line, so it's going to round to 200. Okay? I'll do one more for you. Let's turn it back this way. We'll do thousands. Let's round 2,570 to the nearest 100. Okay? So it says the nearest 100, so I'm going to look at my number and identify the hundreds place. Well, this is the ones, the tens, the hundreds, and the thousands. So here's the hundreds place. Now I'm not just getting rid of this 2,000. We still have to think about the 2,000, but I'm not rounding to the nearest thousands place. So on my number line here, my lowest value would keep this 5 here. So my lowest value would be 2,500. And since I'm rounding to the nearest hundred, my next value up would be 2,600. So I'm going to label this one 2,600. Now you got to think about what's going to be in between here. Some people want to make this be 2,600, 2,700, 2,800, but you can't do that because 2,600 is here. You have to think about what is between 500 and 600. So this one is 2,510, 2,520, 2,530, 2,540, and then this one, I'm going to put it because it's my midpoint. That's what's important here, is you finding the midpoint. So if it's easier for you just to ignore the 2, you can, and think about 500 and 600. Halfway between those two is 550. Well, now I've got to figure out, where does my number go? Well, my number is 2,570. So this would be 560, 570. So since it's in the top half of my number line, then that means it would round up to 2,600. Now, I'm showing you how to do this on a number line because it's something that you're supposed to know and understand, but we're also going to talk about the rhyme in class some, and you can do it like that. I want to make sure that if you see a number line and you see one solved with a number line, that you know what it is that they're trying to show you. Not that I'm telling you you have to solve it that way, but I want you to understand it in case you see it solved that way on Study Island or some other standardized test. So I hope this helps.